I'd like to thank everyone for being here, and also this is our first meeting that we've had, I think, in almost a year. It's good to be back, although the Zooming did work for us, and it was very successful. But I think what we'd like to do is just have a brief discussion on, well, first of all, let's approve the minutes.
I move that we approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting.
June 1st. So moved.
Second.
Thank you. And I think what we'd like to do also is to just discuss briefly about the meetings that we're going to have from now on. We'll have them exactly like this. We'll have them here in the selectman's office. Is that correct, Jennifer? So we'll keep them in, and we'll also have the Zoom meeting also for people who want to Zoom into this meeting also. So between in-person and Zooming, this is what we'll be doing from now on. Okay, is that all right, John, also?
Well, I sent Jennifer a letter describing my situation for the next few months. My Tuesdays are not going to be able to work out at 4:30. So if it's something that we can do maybe temporarily, I'll just keep Zooming until my hours change.
Okay.
Or I don't want to, ask the chair to change the meetings time, because I think that would be even more onerous. But just something to discuss at one point.
Mm-hmm. So that's going to be, those Tuesdays are going to be an issue for next 2 or 3 months?
Next few Tuesdays, yeah, maybe 2 or 3 months, yeah.
Okay. If you're comfortable with Zooming, that's fine, Peter. That's
Fine with me.
That's fine, John, if you don't
Okay.
mind doing that.
Thank
Good.
you.
Okay, so we're good with that. The town meetings, what I'd like to do is just to have, for the record, we had those 4 or 5 articles, and Tony, where are we on those right now? Mike, I talked to you briefly the other day, but why don't you say what things for the water, and Tony can say for the,
Yeah, so for the water articles, we only had 2. We had the cleaning of the Quiet Knoll water storage tank, and we had an engineering and design for the Tuckerman Bridge water main replacement. Do you want statuses on those as well, or?
well, just, yeah.
So I'm waiting to hear back from our tank cleaners. We're thinking not tomorrow, but the following Wednesday, that we'll get that tank. It'll be its first inspection, DEP regulation every 5 years. So it's 5 years. It's been 5 years already, believe it or not. And the contract for the engineering with Foresight on Tuckerman Bridge, they're a Mass DOT certified bridge engineering firm. So Mike Canales is taking care of the contract, waiting to hear back from them.
Okay. Tony?
There was 4 articles, one being the approval for the allowance of the town to the sewer department to borrow money for the replacement of the Park Street pump station. That passed. And Mike Canales is working on securing funding for that moving forward. And also I was in touch with the consultant, Dave Prickett, on the subject. And moving forward into July, we should be receiving a schedule from him very shortly on how things are going to proceed on his end, and getting approved for permitting and things like that. And hopefully, if things stay on track the way we want them to, we should be out to bid in late fall.
Great.
The
Good.
plan is, to be shovel ready and bids back and awarded and a contractor ready to go when the weather breaks in the spring.
That'd be perfect. Great.
Yes, that's what I want to happen.
Yeah, right. Get that thing going.
So then we had the new sewer pipe inspection camera that got approved, and it's in the works to get three prices and get that purchased. And then of course there was the sewer debt.
Right, the 2 of them.
2 of them, I guess one got left out last year somehow. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything to do with the sewer and water department or commission.
No, it was It's sort of an oversight. What are we going to do with the old cameras, Tony? Just keep as a standby?
Yeah, we're gonna keep that one for, like a, a standby for jobs that, we don't want to use our nice new one on, that it might get compromised or something like that. In a bad situation, worst case scenario, we'll use that one.
Yeah, and maybe Hugh could use it for something that he needs doing also.
Well, that's what we had planned to do with it.
You don't want to put it in it.
Yeah, I think that's great. Next, we talk Lake Drive Association interest in the sewer hookup. We talked briefly about that in our last meeting, and we should talk about this more. If there are people on that, on Lake Drive that are interested in hooking into our sewer system, I think that they need to, I think we talked to Anita about that at one time, about the need for, if they want to get together as a group and start the process going as far as engineering, design, and get some ideas, talking to Tony about things also. We certainly would be open to having Lake Drive hook up into our system. We don't have the funds, or we haven't discussed it at all as far as extending the sewer line up there. Correct, Peter, on that?
That's true. But I also have a question for Tony. What's the reserve capacity of the plant right now?
Well, with all this rain today, it's probably up a bit, but I mean, in normal situation, I think we had this discussion before. I want to say we probably have about maybe 200,000 plus
Yeah.
gallons in reserve.
Yeah, you said that before, yeah. And certainly, we certainly wouldn't be near that if Lake Drive came on board.
I wouldn't think so.
No. Yep, okay. So,
Don, I have a question.
yes, John.
Yeah, I had some communication regarding this very matter with Laura and Michael Nathan and a couple of other people that live on Lake Drive. And I think Jim Willits was involved in that as well. He had actually suggested that he would go to Lake Drive and speak to the interested parties to discuss, what they currently have, meaning septics, and how close they are to needing sewer hookups. And I think it was either he or Mike Buffoni probably could answer. They were talking about various ways to hook up, hooking up into several systems and then one major systems or each individual systems to keep the price down. So we need feet on the ground, I think, and interested parties before we can begin talking about this seriously.
Yeah, so they're going to get together themselves, John, and then at one point, if they make some form of decision, then they come to us and we can start a dialogue.
So, can I ask a question? So originally when the town of Stockbridge initiated the sewer project, I think it was about 25 years ago, I know that they sewered Mackinac Road, and they also sewered even earlier, I don't know if it was around the same time, Beechwood. At that time, did those individuals have to contract with an engineer, or was that something that was done town?
No, that was done by the town.
That was done by the, so
That is-
why would we be treated differently?
Because that was a project that was applied for through state and federal government for that project. And there was failed systems, and what happened was they applied for all of the design and permitting, and because it was such an issue, health issue, especially the first project was obviously the Beechwood area, because that was an issue that really needed to be addressed. And
And so we have several tight tanks that are on that our Lake Drive, members of our Lake Drive Association currently have. And there have been several failed septics based on the turnover. We've had about, I'd say, 4 or 5 homes that have turned over in the past 9 months. And I think 3 of those might have septics failed. So therefore, why, and I do remember, because I remember Concom at the time, because I was living in Stockbridge, but I wasn't living on Lake Drive. I was living on Lee Road. That Stockbridge, that Concom's purpose and goal of sewering Beechwood and Mackinac was because they wanted the entire lake sewered. But at the time, they left Lake Drive out for whatever reason, I don't know, because I wasn't part of the conversation, I didn't live there then. But if they had been included, they would have been included in that proposal. And so I'm asking now why we have to do this on our own, because it is a very, I would imagine it's going to be a very large expense, and a lot of people have already put in their septics to replace failed septics.
Yeah, what happened also is when that project that we had, our initial project, there was federal monies available for that. Right now, I have no thoughts. I don't think
The
there's.
state revolving
So
fund.
Jill has a lot of
I actually have
information.
some information if I can share, if you don't mind, and I brought you, I just printed it up. But under the current coronavirus state and local fiscal relief, the town of, which is 4 categories of eligible uses for the CSFRF funds. And number 4 is invest in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. So it is a permitted use. I also have a calculation, the town is going to receive $564,934, which is usable this year. And I have that if you want to take a peek, and there's all the sites from the state of how you can calculate it. There's an interactive map, you can look at it.
Want me to make copies?
Yeah, that'd be.
I think that's part of the infrastructure plan that's kind of going through.
Well, that's already the approved money. There's
Okay.
additional stuff that the governor has
Yeah.
also approved that hasn't come through yet. This is what we already know. And what I was gonna say is I remember the one other meeting that I attended when we first started talking about this, I believe one of your points was that it is the health of the lake as well as sort of a public, there was also someone from Chi-Town who was saying it's not just the Lake Drive Association. There is a stretch up 183 that is also unconnected currently. And I'm wondering if it could be something that this committee might consider broaching to the select board as a project for that infrastructure funding to actually complete the rest of the town's connection from a public health as well as infrastructure perspective. You know, I'm not trying to suggest or have,
There is-
making a,
Now, there is sewer up on 183. It goes up to the Sisto property. So that, it stops there, but there is sewer right there. And people on that stretch south, all of them do have sewer.
right, but then I understand, I don't know exactly which houses are which, but my understanding is it's not just Lake Drive is my point, that we could apply for in the same way that the town did in whatever year that was, apply to complete the entirety of the community into a much safer, from a public health perspective, as waters rise and climate changes and everything else, this is only going to continue to happen. And in particular, that neighborhood seems to have a lot of turnover and a lot of seasonal. And I think one of the comments someone made was that with seasonal ownership, people are a little less vigilant because they're not as aware of the need for pumping. And so there are more incidents. So it is a public health issue. So-
Sure. But just to go back to the previous project, that expansion in 1985, which was quite some time ago, that was, as you say, and we all agree that was a health driven issue as well as the environment. However, at that time, we didn't have the data that showed that there was an issue at Lake Drive. So it wasn't as if Lake Drive were left out of the study. The data at the time didn't show that there was a need to expand to that area. So, here we are in 2021 and issues are becoming more apparent on Lake Drive. And I think that this deserves a fair amount of study and consideration done. And I mean, certainly if you're neighbors and all, you know, can show cause that that there are substantial amounts of failed systems in the area, I think this is something the town should consider.
So we have a neighborhood meeting this coming Sunday morning, and we are certainly willing to ask whatever questions would be helpful for this committee to know. I mean, we can take a survey of how old everybody, to the extent people know how old their systems are, but I would think that it is probably more helpful to get ahead of the failures than behind them.
But I think the next step would be to have a discussion, with the commission as well as the selectmen, and do the study, professionally done.
Yeah.
We get,
You'll have more information.
town hires an engineer collects the data. We go through that, determine the need with the Board of Health, and then take it to the next step.
So would it be helpful for us to get you, a rough survey? It won't be exact because my guess is not everybody knows, but as exact as we can get of the relative ages and types of systems that exist in the neighborhood. And then I just don't know where else in town might not be connected. And if we're going to go through this as a community, it seems like it might make sense if there are just small pockets that rather than doing it piecemeal, we apply to do a comprehensive project and just finish it off.
Well, I've spoken to two of the people that are north of DeSisto on 183 towards Lenox that are interested. They have, they have individual homes. They're not an association, but they're interested in hooking up and joining the discussion. So I know that there's interest.
What they need to do is if the people north of that, they're interested in doing that, they should come to us.
Okay.
And I mean, we had someone the other day hook up to our system in Glendale. Their property abuts our line. They just didn't do it, and now they did it because they have a failed system. But those particular people, they should come to us.
So you would prefer they come to you directly rather than joining?
And you want us
with
to just stay within the neighborhood then?
Because yours is Lake Drive, this is 183. It's two different issues right now. I would prefer them to come to us themselves.
Just to be clear, the Lake Drive Association neighborhood, there are several houses that actually are corners of 183 and either Lake Drive North, Lake Drive South, or Concopot. So there are some houses that appear to be on 183 as well, but will be part of the neighborhood. So that was the only reason we were trying to make it easier for you. But if it's easier to separate that, I'm perfectly happy to make our little work, a smaller loop. That's fine.
And my house is 500 feet from the sewer hookup that goes across the outlet.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, when we first bought the property, we did talk to somebody, my husband talked to somebody at Water Sewer about hooking up, but they said it would take so long that we couldn't wait. Because it would have been years, and we were trying to build a house, so we put a septic system in. But they came out, and we're like 500 yards from where it crosses over onto Lake Drive's south entrance. So we're pretty close on that end, and then it goes up to 183 and goes up north to DeSisto.
So what else would be helpful for us to have for you? What other information would make your job easier?
Well, have you been talking with Tri-Town Board of Health, with Jim Lewis?
We haven't yet. I mean, we have,
Just email.
you have, we had an email conversation with him,
yeah.
but we haven't met
And
yet.
I was trying to get him to come and do a site visit prior to this meeting. However, he never responded in terms of, yes, it was via, and John also thought it was a great idea, but it never happened.
I mean, it would be good.
Yeah, he told us he was going to be out for a week or two on vacation. But this week he ought to be available if you want to try him again.
Yeah, I'll send another email, but.
I mean, it would be good to have, actual documented cases of septic system failures in the area. I mean, are there 2, 10? How many of them how many are the Board of Health aware of?
Okay. And they probably have the ages of systems too.
And-
Yeah, but the age of the system, it's actually the systems that are in trouble, the systems that are or failed systems, those are the ones that, you get a red flag, and those are the ones that help decision-making when you talk about expanding sewer systems.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
So the information that you brought is great about that, the infrastructure, which is internet-based and water and sewer. The only thing that I can see is, and it might be a future little issue, is, okay, if we're gonna spend, what is it, 500, a little over $500,000, and the town hires an engineer, and $500,000 in this setting does not go very far, but
It might.
I could see, well, what about the rest of the lake? And then, we have over on the causeway side where we could go up and grab a couple of camps in Wheatley, and there's a lot of other big players in the arena, but we also have to worry about, if we start sewering everything, another plant upgrade, as Tony alluded to it earlier. There's only if we're permitted for 460,000 gallons a day, correct, Tone?
Yes.
And if we get within 80%, if we get to 80% of that number for 90 consecutive days, it
Yes.
triggers a DEP mandated upgrade to the treatment plant, which is millions. And just a little back information as well. The debt service on the town, everybody got their town reports not long ago. There's a lot of debt service that, millions, and water and sewer take up quite a bit of that. I want to say about $700,000 a year. So the sewer and water systems are a size where we can't generate, $500,000 a year. We try to generate $100,000 a year. And then $100,000 a year goes towards the loan that we currently have, which is paid off in a few years. And the sewer station that Tony and the commissioners were just talking about is based on user fees paying for that. So we've tried to keep the big tax-wide projects off for a little while to give the taxpayers some breathing room, as everything just keeps getting more expensive, as we know. Just a little background of how, we would love to be able to sewer everything and put water everywhere, but there's just limits to what we can do. And Tone, question was, when we did the comprehensive wastewater management plan, was the Lake Drive area in that when we did that back in?
Good question. That's dating back to 2001. I'd have to recall.
Yeah, I
don't
can't remember
think so.
either.
I think it was in there. It was looked at, but I think that the density of the houses and the topography of the layout down there might have been the reason that we didn't go in that direction. I'm not exactly sure though.
Yeah.
And I think also is we go back to the failed systems. I don't think at that time, maybe there were failed systems down there. Again, we didn't get any red flags in that area.
I mean, to kind of contribute to what Mike was talking about. I mean, for instance, the 183 houses that are north of DeSisto. I mean, I guess it's a case point where I guess there's twofold problems that could occur. Are they affecting the lake, which we would have to determine, which they could be because they're up gradient, and are they failing systems currently? And I don't know if you want to go further than Lake Drive with this. I mean, it is something to do with the lake, and people are of grave concern of that lake currently, the way we're testing and everything. It's just a matter of what the town wants to do, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it's actually larger than us also. It's getting the selectmen obviously on board with this and the Board of Health.
So can I ask one more question? So did I hear at some point that the amount of people at the houses in the Lake Drive Association would be within the capacity that would keep you below the 80% trigger point potentially?
Oh, yeah.
So it would actually increase your revenue without increasing your infrastructure if you brought us in?
Right, and then the town being, well, that's not really a public way, I guess. It's a public way, but it's not a town-owned way.
Some of it is.
Right, so, because we're kind of currently going through all that with sewer, like if you guys paid to have all the sewer put in, after a year, the town would take responsibility of it for any maintenance down in the future. And I don't know where that all falls right now. I know Tony's been working with Mike Canales on that. So Yeah, and I don't think there's a ton of houses down there. It'd be a low pressure system, low pressure sewer, because you guys are down, obviously.
How many houses are we talking about?
There are 38 units,
But a lot of.
because the 39th is the Tenneco gas line.
Right.
But everybody else, there's, so with 39 this past year, so that means 38.
But are they
And some are-
all inhabited? Some of them are land only, aren't they?
No, because they don't pay,
Okay.
they don't pay road maintenance dues if they're on it, if it's just land.
How many are year-round?
I would say, Anita?
Three?
We are, let's say, 1, 2.
Three?
No, there are more. There are about 5 or 6.
But we are on the sewer.
Yeah, they are already, because she's right on the corner of Lake Drive, south entrance, and right before when you turn to go along the lake. So when the sewer was brought across the outlet, it went up Lake Drive south entrance. And they hooked up, and the Chabons hooked up, and I guess anybody else who was on that road, Anita?
Right, Yulinovs and, what's his name? Bleiweiss.
Oh, the Blywise is also, yeah.
Oh, and Reardon. It goes up to the Tennessee
And the Reardons.
gas pipeline.
And of those 30 some odd houses, how many are year round approximately?
Yeah, that's where we just.
Yeah, I think there's about 5 or 6 of us that are full-time.
Right.
Some of them are already hooked up, some of the full round.
Yeah,
year as well.
two of them of the full-timers are hooked up.
Don,
So it'll be the Schwerners and the Chabons.
I'd like to say, let's invite
The
Jim Willis
Blywises are
a
not
meeting
full-time.
here
Right.
and discuss this.
And Chairman, may I have permission to speak? This is Jamie Manassi.
Sure.
Thank you. This is a great conversation, and as on the Conservation Commission and on the Stewardship Commission, we have talked about how lovely it would be to put the sewer system around the lake. And from my understanding, and I understand I'm not an engineer, that the capacity of the tank of it was built to go around the lake and around and hook in. And yes, some people will want to have private sewer and water, but I do think it's a human right and a human, to have water, fresh water and sewer to protect our lake. It is a valuable resource. But one point of thing I want to say about the property that was 17 years out of compliance that you just hooked in on Glendale Road, that we just signed an emergency order. They went 17 years and they knew, and they even admitted to us that they were playing roulette with that. And how long and how much sewer went into our water, or how much got dumped improperly. So they had it all jerry-rigged with like PVC piping. And we also know that on Lake Drive, there are people out of compliance, and it's only known because when you buy or sell or trade deeds is when you find out. So how many people are getting their sewer dumped into the lake or into someone else's well? And I'm not blaming and I'm not being angry. I'm just saying we just have to think about this. And I also believe that the finance, you're talking about finances, but it goes to town meeting where we all vote on it. We talk about it. We vote what debts we want to take on. And so it doesn't have to be the onus of your department or your committee. Like it can get spread out. And there are federal grants. There is federal money. It just has to, so I don't think it's impossible. I just think we have to be creative and work together and work, unify and not fight each other on this. Like, we all love our town. So I guess, I'm sorry, I'll get off my soapbox, but that is it. Thank you.
No, we're not, you have to understand, Jamie, we're not fighting this issue. We just need some more information. I mean, and we really can't move forward on anything until we have more information from you. And Peter, you had a good idea.
Yeah, I'd like to have Jim Willis come to one of our meetings, our next meeting, if possible, and just continue this discussion.
And we'll have it at our meeting this week, if that's helpful. We'll do a survey of failures and septics versus tight tanks and whatever else. Is there another category that I don't know about that I should be asking?
Ages of the septics.
Like as far as-
That could be,
Just
Yeah,
wanna know about
ages
failure
of,
rates.
some are old systems and they still work.
and they still work.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think just tight tanks, who has a tight tank and failed systems.
Okay,
Failed systems obviously mean a lot.
fine.
And tight tanks are just an expense that homeowners have to deal with all the time,
Right.
And
which you don't want to have.
But we have several that I do know down at the end.
is there information about proximity to the lake that would be helpful, or is that not relevant? Because you're just going to assume every lot is close enough, it doesn't matter which lot.
Yeah, I don't think that's,
that's not an
no,
issue.
that's not an issue.
I'm just trying to make sure we come back with the right information, that's
Yeah,
all.
yeah, no, this is how things get started.
Yeah. great.
And I'll
Thank you.
email Jim and see if we can set up a site visit. Take a look.
Good, yeah, because that's important.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you. Okay, thanks for letting us take your time.
Right.
Yes.
No, thank you.
Absolutely.
That's what we're here for. So it's,
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony, John.
Thanks very much.
Wait, I got it. No, I won't forget.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
you too, thank you.
Hopefully it's not raining.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, so I know we had Jennifer, you want to see if you can contact him and see if he would come to our next meeting?
Yeah,
That would be,
when is our next meeting? Are we going to?
Well, we have to decide
Well-
whether we're having an August meeting or not.
yeah, that's another thing too.
I think that, given the circumstances, I think we should have
I do too.
an August meeting.
The reason why I put this on here, John, we're sort of going down to the other part of the agenda. Usually in August, because people are doing vacations and stuff and things aren't really pressing, before we have not had an August meeting. But I think because of what things are transpiring now, I think we should have the meeting in August.
I agree.
So-
There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, yeah. So, all right, so we will have the meeting in August and see if we can get Jim on board to come.
Yeah, I think it's important to get Jim Willetts to do the on-site inspection, as he said he would do, before he comes to our next meeting.
That'd be great,
So
John.
that, yeah, this gives them a month to get together with the Lake Drive folks and do that.
Yeah,
And I'll reach out to Jim tomorrow, myself personally, and make sure that when and if that happens soon, I'm willing to go along if he needs me to be or do whatever.
Hey, Tom, let me ask you a question. Just off the top of your head, you got 39 units, 5 of which are in even, most of them being part-time. What do you think they generate in terms of sewage, and how close will we come if we hook them up? And would we get very close to that 80% mark?
No,
Okay,
I just did quick math. If you used 4 bedrooms per house, it's like 18,000 gallons a day peak flow. I mean, don't hold me to that. That's not an engineer.
no,
I just
no,
did it-
that's just the top of the head, yeah, okay.
So call it maybe 20,000 gallons a day.
Mm-hmm. And
And
we can
again-
capacity for another 300,000, you say?
200.
200.
200.
Around 200.
Yeah.
But I
But
wouldn't
again-
want to get to that 80%.
No,
No.
of course not, no.
No, that's something we would definitely stay away from. And also, there's so many of those that are not year-round also.
Exactly,
Yeah.
John.
I mean, that's another thought.
It's going to be a seasonal thing.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, hydrant flushing, Mike, I know we haven't done it yet.
No, I haven't done it yet. It's probably gonna be the old fashioned fall way. We used to do it in spring and fall, and I just don't wanna get out running water when we're at like, peak residents, second homeowners coming in. So, and we just have a lot going on. I've got backflow testing to do all this month. We've got meters to finish up reading. We've just got a lot of stuff. So, I just think doing it in the fall makes the most sense right now. I don't want to do it in the,
Okay.
peak of the season.
The watershed inspection, Mike?
Yeah, we had a watershed inspection, in June. A new, employee of the DEP came out and, we did a walk around the lake, walk up on the little up on the mountain a little, and did a lot of, probably a good hour and a half just of stuff in the office going through, prior inspections. And, I have to keep a logbook when we go up there, going over the samples we have to take quarterly in the stream. All kinds of different stuff, the logging that goes on. And I don't have the report back yet. She said it would take a little bit of time, but, it went well. So when I get that report back, we can go over, I'll email it to all you guys and, we can take a little deeper look into it and see if there's any recommendations or requirements that they're gonna have with it, but.
They didn't seem to be having many issues.
No, and I actually asked them for a couple of favors as well. Back, 20 to 25 years ago, they used to do a source water, it was called the SWAP program, Source Water Assessment Program. And they did vulnerability studies along with that. And I asked them, do they still do it? And they don't, you would have to hire an engineering firm to see how, because obviously surface water supplies are our most vulnerable kind. So that was a quick no that, if you want to hire somebody to do it, go ahead. And then I gave them a copy of our safe yield report that HCS did for us. And because it's been a year and a month, and I finally got an email back from the guy that Phil Clark, who worked for O'Brien and Gear when he was one of the design engineers for the water treatment plant. And I just gave them a copy of it just to kind of ask their opinion on the report, and they deal with that stuff. I can look at it and read it, but I guess I don't feel comfortable with the number. It's a lot different than the number I've seen from prior reports. Not that we've had one done like officially, but so I gave that to the DEP and they're looking at that. So, and Phil, I said he would go over the report, and he said he did have to make some corrections on it. So I'm still waiting to hear back on that. So.
In the Water Management Act?
Yeah, so that's an ongoing thing. It's a big deal with the water, the 1,500 water systems in the state. Basically, what the DEP wants to do with this Water Management Act, that's where our permits or registrations are, or registered or permitted with how much water we can withdraw and send out to our system. And every year we have to do that annual statistical report, and we have to prove to the DEP that our residential users use less than 65 gallons per person per day, which we do. I think we were at 57 gallons per person per day last year. So they basically, in a nutshell, what they want to do is the DEP wants to be able to say, okay, Berkshire County's in a level 1 drought. Every water system in Berkshire County needs to do odd and even mandatory water use restrictions, no watering, odd, even days, no watering, odd days, you can water, even days. We've been at the decision-making part of our water use restrictions. The last time I remember doing was 1996. So that's, and a lot of water systems are up in arms over that, because where, Lennox or Pittsfield might be having problems with their supply and we're overflowing, why should we be limited to how much water we can put out? And obviously that's the cash register, and when the meter's not turning, we're not making money. And that's one of the biggest talking points about this. And Ray Miaras has been going to the meetings on our behalf.
I saw where he is.
And we've been emailing back and forth. So there's another meeting tomorrow, which I'm sure Ray will be attending. A lot of them are virtual, via Zoom. So I don't know where, there's a whole nother, they extended the comment period another month. So, because there are a lot of the big water systems that are not happy, and a lot of water systems, period, aren't happy. They have.
I noticed that like a month ago, North Adams already had some restrictions, and I know we were still flowing.
We have not stopped overflowing since snow melt. I've been keeping track. One of the things on that safe yield report, which made it hard for him to do some calculations, is I had all the rain data. I mean, we have rain data from the 40s. The water company's been a weather spotter for the DCR for a long, long time. And the one bit of information that we really didn't have was in these warmer months and water flows versus rain, what level was the reservoir at? That wasn't part of the equation, and that's obviously a very important one. So it was hard for him to draw those conclusions with a safe yield as well, which I understand. So when it stops overflowing, I made up a spreadsheet and I have it in my office, and whenever I drive by and we see that it's not overflowing, I'm going to start documenting it probably 2 or 3 times a week to see where we're at. So we can compare that in the future and maybe get a little better handle on. I think any engineering firm is going to want to know that. And he was talking about solar powered measuring devices that a lot of reservoirs usually have story poles with how much water they're down and how much water capacity they have. So it's something we might want to look to in the future.
Yeah, tie that into your other monitoring.
Yeah. So but like I said, we've been overflowing, and when we stop, that's when I'll start measuring.
And you're talking about the culvert, right?
Yeah, the spillway.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep. So keep you posted on
Because
that.
there's no we don't need to mandate any kind of flow on that stream.
No.
Similar to what you have coming out of the lake, you have to, right? Isn't there a certain flow
CFF.
that needs to, even in times of drought, it still has to, going into the river, it still has to have a certain flow from the lake.
Like
I thought I saw Shep Evans said something like that. They used to.
Oh, out of the bowl?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's gauges on the old Curtisville Bridge, and there's another gauge on the box culvert just down from it on 183.
Okay.
They have measuring sticks on them, and Shadowbrook does as well.
Oh,
They have gauges on them just so they can keep track of how many CFM are coming into the lake.
yeah, that's a pretty good watershed, that lake anyway.
Oh, yeah. So that's where that all stands, and we'll see what the DEP is gonna do. They're kind of taking the decisions out of they want to take the decisions out of the local, the system, people that run the systems.
Yeah, I've seen Ray's correspondence to you and you've given it to us. And Ray, a lot of the stuff really doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And I just got another email like at 3:30 this afternoon. I haven't read it yet, but Jen Pedersen, who's one of the head of the Mass Waterworks, she keeps everybody posted if you're a member of Mass Waterworks, which we are. And she sends emails out constantly on stuff that's going on in the water industry, that's in the paper, in the news, DEP, that she goes to all the DEP meetings to keep everybody abreast of what's going on in the DEP with the water system. So it's really, really nice. And I'll forward you guys that email that I got today. It looked pretty informative. There was a lot of attachments and.
I imagine there's even more pushback from the private systems.
Yeah, I mean, and you got a lot of systems like, I mean, look at the Sportsman's Club. I mean, not that we have true like customers, but there's a lot of systems like that out there. Just that aren't even going to really be affected by it, I guess. But, then you have to do all the paperwork. There's going to be a paper trail that's going to go along with it. You can be guaranteed of that. And policing and.
Sure.
Yeah, keeping records, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Stoppers Bowl Steering Committee. John, did you have a meeting recently?
Yes, we did. And we discussed many matters, including the lake management plan, which includes the harvesting of the bowl. I think we had several presentations about where the harvesting will be done. We spoke about dredging, the GZA. We talked about water testing, which I think Mike could speak to. But nothing specific and germane to this committee at this point.
Will they be doing harvesting this year?
They're planning on it. Yes, we don't have the date and we don't know when, but we have looked and try to map out the area. Yes.
Okay.
We don't have a harvester operator yet either. Not that I know
Is
of.
that what they're still advertising in the shopper's guide and they can't get anyone?
They have advertised for 3 positions and they only got 1, and that's my kid.
No kidding.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, it's awful, isn't it?
And what's he doing?
Mowing for Huey and weed whacking.
Yeah. We're going down the Cape and all the restaurants close at 8:00.
Because they don't have any help.
They don't have any help.
Crazy.
Okay, thanks, John.
I think we answered
Just
that.
just an update, Mike, on the driveway going in the water and sewer.
That's pretty much at a standstill. I sent an email and I talked to Tony and Mark about this and Huey. We wanted to verify that there's money to do this project, and we were told yes. And I think Chris Marsden got 2 or 3 prices from local fence people to put the gate in. So that's not really on our plate, the gate part, but we were gonna have our electrician Aloisi, because I think they want to take power out of the sewer pump station. So we want it done, obviously, we want it done professionally, obviously, and it has to be with a permit has to get pulled and all that, but we were gonna dig the trench and wherever the pedestal is gonna go, we haven't really heard anything. It's just, I think there's so many irons in the fire up here right now that it's been kind of put to the wayside. We have talked to Mike about the paving, whether we pave an apron to get the state happy that it's at least paved 30 feet off the edge of the road. Tone, isn't that what Mike Coolig said? We met with Mike a while back.
Yes.
I think it was 30 feet that we can put a binder apron in. And then I believe what's gonna happen next year for town meeting is that they're gonna put an article together to pave the whole entire complex in there.
Including-
Water, sewer, highway, the new driveway, everything. One big lump sum. Rather than piecemeal and everything kind of break apart at different
Now, the
times.
Talbot Center, is there thoughts on working on that project, or is that on hold?
No idea.
Wow, that was a mess down there, wasn't it?
I know
Wow.
they've been talking about that there's a building way over on the left,
Yeah,
bird sanctuary, that they're gonna maybe use that.
yep. That's what, I heard that the other day. No idea if there's any truth to it or not, but that's what, I did hear that.
That's what I've heard.
When the old shed that we dragged over into the woods years ago, like 30 years ago, yeah. But there's a concrete floor poured in there and all that, so they're thinking of using that for the swap shop to get kind of everybody out of the, kind of off to the side and out of the way.
I guess conservation said it was okay with them.
Oh, that's all right.
Not enough thought into that.
Okay, so we will have a meeting in August. Tony and Mike, any concerns?
No, not at the moment.
The only thing I have, Tony and I talked, and we talked too about it, Don, is our new IT guy, John, came down and put new computers in for Tony and myself, and he raised a lot, well, you met him the other day. He raised a lot of concern about this standalone computer that we have for our billing software. And I talked to Ian, our Badger water meter supplier, and to update to a cloud-based software, reading software, where we get a new little handheld reader and everything goes to the cloud. And we don't have the computer to worry about in there anymore because he's really worried. It does not back up. It's not connected to the server. It's old already and computer age. I think we've had this stuff 6 years already. So I got a price from Ian to upgrade the cloud-based software. I think it's right around, it's 12.8, and then there's some other little fees in there, $600 here and 400 there. But Tony and I were talking about if we have enough money to carry over 7,000 each or whatever, and just upgrade this stuff and be done with that computer that's in the collector's office.
Well, we have the money to carry over, so,
I'm all for it.
yeah. John, you good with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's just something that should be.
I think I looked today and I have 30-ish thousand, 32,000 left. I know Tony's got more than that. I don't think it'll be a hardship for us to carry over that money and just upgrade our equipment. And the only other thing I have is just on the Curtisville as a closeout. We're getting close to closing that project out. The high density polyethylene pipe that the Keller ordered on accident. I got that invoice from EJ Prescott and forwarded it to them. So they're going to credit, it was $1,308 even. So they're going to get that credit. And I emailed the estimator over at Keller and Earl and Mike Canales today. And there's already some emails going back and forth so they can close the project out and get it behind us.
Right.
Good.
You know, speaking of monies and where we're going to get monies for doing certain projects, I noticed the paper today, Neil we have $300 million in Massachusetts would be being allocated, and part of that is infrastructure and also water and sewer.
This is the money that she was talking about.
So hopefully,
Every town's gonna get their share, and that's what we're gonna get is 500 and change. And I don't know how we have to apply for it, or they're just gonna give it to us, or how it's gonna work.
but that
Because we're looking
500,000,
at the same thing over for West Stockbridge to do some sewer work over there with that same money.
because that $500,000 will be eaten up quickly on that project.
Yeah.
That's just
Although,
barely covers any
Or
engineer.
do you
yeah,
cover the cost of the,
Maybe.
because certainly won't be, the gravity would be
oh, it's all gonna be low pressure. I mean, there's no
low
way.
pressure all the way.
Yeah.
So, but it's a dirt road and that helps instead of blacktop. And
Like Mike says, though, our priority at the moment, because we're ready to do this, is the Park Street pump station.
yes. And also on here, Jennifer emailed us for Paul Coates. Did
Yeah,
you see
I saw
that? And John, did you see that also? He lives on,
Yeah, I did, I saw that.
yeah, he lives on the top of Mohawk Lake Road. And I think, John, what might have happened is he saw the person down at the bottom of the hill near Willard Hill hooking into the sewer system. And I know we thought that maybe we did it, or we paid for it, whatever the situation was. And he's talking about using obviously this kind of money or whatever to do their system. And I talked to Jennifer briefly before the meeting that if she could just write him a letter back, and at this particular time, if he would like to come in and talk to us about it, that'd be fine. But at this particular time, it's, I don't know what to say, it's not on the books.
When they were digging down near the road, the Kirschenbaum's neighbor, being my brother, called me that night when he got home and said, "What's going on? Can I hook on?" I'm like, "No, it's just for your neighbor," because his property abutted where the manhole is. So he was darn. He was hoping, because he said he's on borrowed time too. He's going on 20 plus years being up there, or 25 plus, whatever it is.
So
So
which house does he live in?
So the next one.
the next one up on the hill, him and Lori built.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But couldn't he, if he got permission from the town of Stockbridge to cut in the public way, couldn't he do that?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I was gonna say, because we did that on a North Church Street.
Yep.
We
Done
gave
it.
people permission to, in the public way.
Yeah, we did it on East Main Street too.
Yes,
And that was an estate.
layout, yeah.
Yes,
That was-
yes.
That was double.
Hey, Don, can I ask a question?
Yes, yes, John.
If Paul Coates, as I read his letter, says there's at least 5 or 6 other neighbors, were to provide their own sewer hookup to that same manhole, what would that do for our ability to say, yeah, we can do that?
We can accept their sewage, but as far as paying for that to be done would be,
I'd say he's probably a half mile,
yeah,
probably more than a half mile up the road from that manhole. I mean, he's way up at the end.
yeah, he's way up at the end. And also, if I remember correctly, up near Jackie Miller's house and Clint's house up in there, there's some serious ledge up in
Yeah.
there. So that would be
I think that's why the water main goes out through Don Goody's field.
yeah, yeah.
So, John, over the past 30 years here, well, shouldn't say 30, since the Glendale expansion, when was that? 19 what?
Not that,
2004.
2004.
Yeah, not
Okay,
that long.
since 2004, anybody that wasn't, any citizens that wanted to hook up basically said, okay, but you have to pay for your own infrastructure to get to the nearest manhole. And there have been many people who have done that. And later on, they retain ownership of the infrastructure. Should any of their neighbors want to join in, right? They can take care of, getting reimbursed that way. And then eventually we've accepted some of those systems as well, if they're built to our specification. And I think that, we can continue in that way with individuals or small groups of neighbors that want to do that. If they want to make that investment, I mean, certainly I don't think we would turn down
oh, no.
the new flows.
Right. So the onus would be on them to get an engineer and pay for the cost of that half a mile of pipes through very serious ledge to get to 183.
Yeah,
Sure.
yes.
To Willow Street, actually, but
What's that, Tony?
To Willow Street.
to Willow
Right, to
Street.
Willow Street, yeah.
Yeah, to Willow
Yeah.
Street, right.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, we'll have Jennifer send out a letter and just respond to him with that. Because he, obviously, if he wants to come and talk to us at our meeting, next meeting, he can do it also. You can also put that in the letter too, if he wants to come, or some other people. Okay. Anything else?
No, I'm all set.
Okay, someone want to make a motion? We adjourn?
I believe
The
that we
motion to adjourn.
So moved. Thank you, everyone. We'll see everyone in August.
Do we have a date in August yet? The first Tuesday?
First Tuesday.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you.